Hello there, it's me again. It's been a while, but fortunately we've got a lot to talk about. So what I'm going to do is essentially two of these episodes back to back. The first episode is going to be an install walkthrough of CML 210, which hopefully, because I've done it, but this is my cluster setup and I'm hoping that it goes well. If not, we'll try to troubleshoot it. Um, uh, it should look like the other cluster upgrade walkthroughs I've gone through. It's been a while since CML release, since 2.9 came out or 2.9.1. So there are going to be some Ubuntu updates as well. We're going to need to reboot after this. Um, but hopefully that'll be the smaller part. And then the second episode will be a brief feature walkthrough, some of the things you're going to see in 2.10, because there are some exciting new features that are coming. So let's get started. This is my controller interface to 291. I have a 3-node cluster, one dedicated controller and 2 computes. They're all virtual machines, so this isn't something you probably do in production. This is just what I do for my basic testing. Just like any other cluster upgrade, and this also applies to standalone as well, we want to make sure that our CML instance, cluster or otherwise, is in the right state for the upgrade. So first of all, you want to make sure that it's okay. Great, it's okay. Looks like everything's green. Green, good. We like that. And then what we're going to have to do is make sure that everything is shut down. So all the labs are stopped. We don't see any lab running here. I have show all and I'm logged in as admin. So great, nothing is running. That's important. We're going to have to put this in maintenance mode, and then we're going to have to mark the all of the nodes as just registered. But before I do that, I want to come over here to Cockpit, and I'll log in as sysadmin to Cockpit. And I want to make sure that everything generally looks good with in my case, my cluster, but generally you'd look and you make sure, can I log into Cockpit? That's going to be important that you can do that. And in my case, I want to make sure that I can connect to the 2 compute nodes, just so I can, because part of the upgrade, which is kind of cool actually, the upgrade will upgrade the controller and then connect to each of the compute nodes and upgrade them as well. So we want to make sure that connectivity generally works and set ourselves up for as much success as possible. So I'm already on the controller, yay. I'll try to go over here to compute 1. Yep, looks like I can get into compute 1. Let's try compute 2. Yep, I'm into compute 2. Just make sure the terminal comes up. Terminal comes up there. I like the terminal because I can look at the logs with the upgrade. Okay, good. So that's all working. I'll go back over here to the controller, save in the controller. And the next step we're going to need to do is upload that upgrade file. So before I mark everything in maintenance and all of that, I'll just come over here, select my upgrade, the PKG file for the upgrade. This is CML 210, build 13. Great. I'll upload this. This will take a while, so I'm going to pause so you don't have to wait for this. And I'll come back and we'll talk a little more when I'm back. Okay, got the file up there. That's great. Now we can do the maintenance mode thing. So we'll come to System Tools, System Administration, and we will enable maintenance mode. Don't forget to click the Save button. You want that banner to show up, so you're in maintenance mode. Then you come over here to Compute Hosts, and you have to do this even if you're not on a cluster. Select all of the nodes. That should also include the controller, and change the admission state from ready to registered. Now everything goes offline. Great. Everything's quiet is what that means. You have to shut everything or stop all the labs first. It would be great if they stopped automatically, but that's like a conscious effort that you would have to do to stop them. If you don't do that step first, you need to mark these nodes back as ready to be able to do that. You can't do that once you mark them as registered. So that's why I checked beforehand. Now the system is in a place where it can be upgraded. So now we're going to go over here to Cockpit. The rest of this will happen in Cockpit. And we're going to come here to software upgrades. So in Cockpit, log in as sysadmin, CML2 software upgrade. This is when you click the upgrade button, it's going to do a few checks to make sure that you have stopped all the labs and the system is in maintenance mode and everything is in the register not ready state. And if there's any problems, it will tell you fix those problems and then you can move on. But hopefully I've done it right. Yes, I'm sure. Here we go. And then we're going to start all the upgrades. And this will spool here. And there's also a log file on the file system if Cockpit happens to get disconnected. If Cockpit itself gets upgraded, then it will tend to be disconnected. As part of that upgrade, it's going to restart Cockpit. But that's okay. We can come back in here. We can look at the log file. And we can see what the overall status of the upgrade is. So I mentioned it is going to do quite a bit of, and you're seeing that here, quite a bit of Ubuntu package updates. These are important, not least of which is security. So there are some functional updates that are needed for things like Docker, for the containers support and all of that. But there's been a few somewhat serious security issues that have come out in the Linux world of late. And so it's a good idea. We want to make sure that our Ubuntu 24.04.4 packages are all up to date. So that's what it's doing here. So again, I'm going to pause because you probably don't need to watch all of this. And when it gets back to something interesting, then I'll come back in and we'll talk a little more. I guess real quick, let me just pause here. So you're going to get to a point where it says like no output, no output, no output, 15 seconds, 15 seconds. And you may think like, oh no, what's going on? What's going on? This is taking too long. It will take a while, but see, it does move on. So don't panic if you see that. That's fine. There's a lot of stuff that changed, and it will take a little bit of time. So don't panic if it says that. So actually one other thing that just happened, but it's scrolling live, you saw that it finished successfully on one node and it's moving over to the other, but it's scrolled off the screen. So for a single node installation, at this point it would already be done. It doesn't take that long. Really will depend on how up to date your system is, how fast your internet connection is to get those packages. But since I have those other two nodes in my cluster, it's going to have to update the Ubuntu packages and then install the CML upgrade bundle there. But if you see something that's stuck on didn't get output for 15 seconds, just give it a little bit of time, give it like 2 minutes, and it should move on. I'm going to pause again, and we'll come back when some more interesting stuff happens. Okay, so all three nodes have now been upgraded. How do I know? Because it says finished executing on all compute hosts, and we want to see that code 0. Everything finished successfully. So that was great. This last bit of advice is very important. It says CML should be rebooted to switch the kernel. So there were kernel updates and we should reboot. I like to reboot after every upgrade, even though the services restart. I like to make sure that all the new libraries are loaded in memory and so on and so forth. So I tend to reboot after each upgrade. And I would do that before you update your reference platforms, if that's something you want to do. The order, since this is a cluster, the order is I'm going to first reboot the controller. And when the controller comes back, I'm going to go into each compute node and reboot that. And then hopefully everything should stabilize. I like to do things from the terminal. So I'm going to do a sudo systemctl reboot from the terminal on my controller. See, it says the controller up here. And it is rebooting. So this will take a little bit of time. Since this is a virtual machine, this isn't going to be that long, but I'll go ahead and pause and I'll come back when it's ready to go. All right, controller rebooted. We're now back in Cockpit, so I haven't gone back to CML yet because remember we still have the two compute nodes. It says it's running 210 build 13. That's good because that's what I upgraded to, so it really should say that. I also like to go ahead and do in Firefox, which is what I'm using, a shift reload. That will refresh the cache. Some things do change, so just make sure everything looks consistent. It's loading the current version of Cockpit. Now I'm going to go to each one of my two compute nodes. I'll start with compute 1, and I'll do the exact same sudo systemctl reboot in the terminal. And that will reboot that one. Come over here to Compute 2. I think. Make sure the controller is still up. Yep. There we go. There's Compute 2. And I will do the same sudo systemctl reboot. And we'll wait. Talk to you in a sec. All right, all three nodes now, two computes and one controller, have been rebooted. So now I'm going to go back over here to CML. Again, I'll do that shift reload, make sure I've cleared my cache, cleared my browser cache for this version of CML. It looks like it's running, and it looks like it's running the right version. We still see we're in maintenance mode. That is to be expected. So let me log into CML. It's a new version, so we're going to get the telemetry pop up. I'm on the team, kinda. I would recommend that if you can, send us that telemetry. It's all anonymous, and it does help us understand how people are using the product and prioritize different components in terms of feature development and that type of thing. But you don't have to, so I'll go ahead and dismiss that for now. Now what I want to do is get all my nodes ready again. So remember, last thing we did was we marked them all registered. Now I'm going to mark them all as ready. We're still going to get a health situation here. Things need to come up, and CML needs to make sure that everything is good. We still need to take it out of maintenance mode. So we'll take the compute health. It looks like the low-level driver on compute 2 may still be coming up. Good. Finished initializing. So we're good there. But now what I need to do is come back to System Administration, the main page, System Maintenance, and I need to take it out of maintenance mode. Don't forget, we want to click Save when we disable maintenance mode, and now we're good. We're able to start labs. We're able to use CML as normal. I did mention one thing as part of the upgrade. You may want to do this, copy the RefPlat ISO. Every minor release like this of CML that we've done, we always release a new version of the RefPlat ISO. Now it's ISOs, there's multiple. This includes the main ISO, the supplemental ISO, and now we have a separate ICE ISO, since ICE, Identity Services Engine, is so big. So we have three main ISOs with all of those VMs. They have new versions of software, so if you want to get the latest version and you have the space for it, you can mount them onto your controller and copy them over. They only need to be copied over to the controller. The other thing we've done in this release is broken out the containers. So Ralph, one of our developers, he has created a Git-based pipeline for building container images, and that's up on GitHub. So if I go and search for CML Docker containers, I come here to his GitHub repo. So this is github.com/Cisco Learning /cml-docker-containers, and you'll see that he's got releases over here. You're free to clone this repo yourself and build any type of container you want, any version, but what he's done is pre-created some ISOs specifically for the 2.10 release, and these are grouped by different things. Like you have a browser-based ISO, you have a services-based ISO, Splunk, and all of that. So you're able to pull those files, those ISO files, directly from GitHub if you don't want to have to build them yourself. And you can see what the size of those ISO files is, or are, what sizes of them are. And you can download those, and same thing, just copy them, go to the cockpit, copy RefPlat ISO, mount the ISO, and then copy it over onto your CML controller. Then you're good to go. You're ready to explore the fun and powerful new capabilities in CML 2.10, which brings me to my second episode. When next we meet, I'm going to walk through some of those interesting features and give you an idea of why we think CML 2.10 is such a cool release. So thanks for watching, and I wish you success in your upgrade to CML 2.10. Thanks.